All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at 6 different methods for taking control of your life and improving it. We're looking at excerpts from a text called Coat My Tea Wang, which
Oh, interesting.
it leans pretty heavily on the philosophy of Robert Greene and self-development.
Right.
So it should be a good one.
Awesome.
So method number 1 that this text talks about is tackling fear.
Right.
And, you know,
Fear
can stop you
Yeah.
in your tracks.
Wow. That's really interesting because, like, that helps you break it down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you really analyze it instead of just letting it.
It's so easy to let fear just take over.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you don't even think about it.
Yeah, you just like, ooh, run away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So having those questions handy can really help you break down that fear and figure out what's rational and what's not.
Yeah, and figure out if, like, what you're afraid of is even real or if you're just, like, making it up in your head.
Exactly. I know. I was terrified before giving a big presentation one time.
Oh, yeah.
Convinced I was going to, like, completely bomb.
Right.
But then I remembered these questions.
Nice.
And I sat down. I actually wrote out the answers
Wow.
to those questions and realized that most of my fear was based on things that hadn't even happened yet.
Of course. Yeah, you're just like catastrophizing.
Exactly.
Like thinking of the worst case scenario.
And once I realized that it was, like, poof.
Totally.
Like, the fear just went away.
It's like shining a light on those shadowy fears, you know? Once you expose them, they often lose their power.
That's a great analogy. Okay, so method number 2.
Yeah.
Facing death.
Okay.
I know it sounds a little intense.
A little bit, yeah.
But the text argues that contemplating your own mortality can actually be a powerful tool
Interesting.
for living a better life.
Okay.
It's kind of like the whole Stoic philosophy.
Right.
They weren't afraid to face death.
Right.
And that allowed them to live more fully in the present.
Yeah, and I guess if you're not constantly worried about dying, then you can just enjoy life more.
Exactly. And it also helps you, I think,
to
not sweat the small stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when you think about the grand scheme of things, all of a sudden that deadline you missed doesn't seem so catastrophic.
Exactly. And it allows you to really prioritize what matters.
Yes.
Some people might find this whole, like, focusing on death thing morbid, but it's really about, like, appreciating the time that we have.
Right. Okay, method number 3 is dealing with depression.
Okay.
And the text has a very practical, almost physical approach to this.
Interesting.
It emphasizes the importance of taking care of your physical body.
Okay.
Specifically, getting enough exercise and sunlight.
Right.
Why is that so important?
So exercise releases endorphins, which are natural mood boosters.
Right.
And sunlight helps our bodies produce vitamin D, which is also linked to mood regulation.
Interesting.
So it's not a cure-all, obviously, but it can really significantly impact how you feel.
Right.
I think it's also important to note that, these tips aren't a replacement for professional help.
Absolutely.
If you're really struggling with depression, please reach out to a mental health professional.
This is about, giving you more tools to manage.
Totally.
Not suggesting that it's a simple fix.
For sure.
Okay, so moving on to method number 4.
All right.
We're talking about anxiety.
Okay.
Which feels like something everyone struggles with these days.
For sure. It's so pervasive. The text connects anxiety to our tendency to get caught in these loops.
Okay.
Dwelling on the past or worrying about the future.
Right. But how do you shift that perspective?
Okay.
Especially when you're in the middle of, like, a stressful situation.
Yeah.
Like, how do I stop freaking out about that huge deadline looming over me?
That's a good question. The text suggests adopting a long-term perspective.
Okay.
So, like, ask yourself, will this one deadline really matter 5 years from now?
Right.
Will it impact my overall career trajectory? Often the answer is no. And that can really help reduce that immediate anxiety.
I see. So it's about reframing it.
Yeah.
In a way that takes the pressure off. Like, okay, will anyone even remember that presentation I messed up next week?
Exactly.
Let alone 5 years from now.
And it's not that, like, what you're doing doesn't matter.
Right.
It's just, like, keeping things in perspective.
It's all about perspective.
Okay.
So now, for something a little bit different.
Okay.
Method number 5.
All right.
Living with boredom.
Boredom. Interesting.
I'm curious what the text has to say about this.
Me too.
Yeah.
So the text kind of cautions against those quick fixes for boredom, like scrolling through social media, binge watching shows, or, relying on substances.
Like those provide temporary relief.
Yeah, it argues that those things offer fleeting pleasure, but ultimately leave you feeling kind of empty.
Right. So what's the alternative?
Okay, so
how do we deal with boredom in a healthy way?
The text suggests finding happiness from within.
Okay.
So this could mean, spending time in solitude, reflecting, practicing gratitude, or finding new challenges that, really engage you.
Right. It's about having that feeling of accomplishment.
Yes.
Like when you learn a new skill.
Exactly.
Or finally conquer that recipe that you've been working on.
Yeah, like that sense of fulfillment.
Yes.
That doesn't depend on external sources.
Love it. Okay. Last one, method number 6.
Okay.
Finding opportunity in crisis.
Wow.
This one's all about mindset.
Interesting. It's about resilience and adaptability.
Yeah.
The text suggests that successful people, they don't just weather the storm.
Right.
They look for ways to use it to their advantage.
It's like that saying, when one door closes and another one opens.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not just about waiting for the new door to open.
Exactly.
It's about actively
go find
seeking it out. Yes. Like think about the companies that thrived during the pandemic.
Right.
They didn't just survive. They
innovated.
saw the shift in consumer behavior as an opportunity to innovate and grow.
It's easy to get caught up in the negativity of a crisis. Right.
But this method reminds us to look for that silver lining, that hidden opportunity.
Absolutely.
So think back to a challenging time in your own life. Can you spot any hidden opportunities that emerged from that experience? Maybe a new skill you developed, or a relationship that deepened, or maybe just a newfound appreciation for something that you took for granted.
Wow, that's a really powerful question to consider. We've covered so much today: overcoming fear, facing death, dealing with depression and anxiety, living with boredom, and finding opportunity in crisis.
Yeah.
It's a lot to unpack.
So many tools. And each method offers a different path to taking control of your emotions. But the key takeaway is that you have more power to shape your responses than you might realize.
So much to think about. What's the one thing that you want our listeners to take away from this?
Okay, so here's a challenge for you.
Okay.
Choose one of these methods and try applying it this week. Even a small step can make a difference.
I love that challenge. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us, and we'll see you next time.